Hello everyone, I'm going to show you my aquaponics system today. Aquaponics, of course, using fish water for nutrients in a hydroponic setting rather than having to buy hydroponic nutrients, which are expensive and a lot of times wasteful. Up here I got a grow dome for sprouting seeds. I haven't really used it yet because, as you can see, I've got a lot of growth. Now this is almost exactly a week since I threw these seeds in. I just kind of halfway covered them up in the gravel. I've got an ebb and flow system, and I'll start off with kind of the flow direction. Those are my grow beds. Down one level is the fish tank, and down one more level is the sump. Now down there I've got a pump you can barely see, and there's a valve right there that I have the pump turned all the way down, and then I have the valve choking it off even a little bit further. So my pump is a little bit too strong for what I've got right now, but I plan on expanding it with some grow towers off to the left here. So the pump takes the water up here. In here I've just got a couple of 90s PVC. They're just stuck here in the ground. They're not really connected to anything else. Just to keep the top of the gravel dry so I don't get a lot of algae growth. And one of them is already taken off. These are my bell siphons, and as you can see, the bell siphons are working phenomenally. I've heard of a couple people say, you know, it takes a couple of days to get the dynamics right on getting these bell siphons to start and stop. A couple of days would have been nice for me. I took a lot longer than that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So it comes from the sump at the bottom up to the grow beds. Through the grow beds the water travels, and when it fills up, this bell siphon kicks in and pulls all the water out of the grow beds down into the fish tank. Now the left one is going now. Now the fish tank, there's a standpipe in the fish tank to determine the water level. I'm using goldfish right now because it's kind of a small system. It's about 30 gallons. And I just don't want to have to worry about raising a bunch of fish for trying to eat them. That's just a whole nother thing. This is my first try at this, so I'm just going to go with something simple. So I just went and bought some goldfish. I've got about 35 little goldfish in there, and some of them are definitely going to be sacrificial as they get bigger. I'll move some down into the sump and kind of block off the pump from sucking them up. I've got a little screen to keep them from jumping through the standpipe because they were doing that. And it also helps catch some of the fish food, and I've seen them eating on that fish food because they kind of know where it is now. It just kind of sits there. I need to get some different fish food that's going to sink so I don't waste a lot of it and end up with a lot of solids up in my grow beds. About the plants and the nutrition of the plants, I'm working on, right now I just have some cheap fish food for goldfish. It's what I could find here in town. I live in South Arkansas, and there's not a lot in the way of pets and pet supplies and nicer fish foods without having to order it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on coming up with a sort of a formula with maybe some freeze-dried red wigglers and lettuce and orange slices. I know they like those. I want to freeze dry the stuff so that I can kind of crumble it up. Over here I've got an automatic fish feeder. It goes off twice a day. It holds about 2 weeks worth of fish, which is lucky because I'm about to leave town for about 2 weeks. So we'll see how that works. Back to the plants. They seem to be doing really well. Of course, I don't have a biofilter except for the grow beds themselves, and in a smaller system, that's fine. I've got some broccoli sprouting on this side, and some Swiss chard, and in the front here is just a bunch of lettuce. Swiss chard's back there with the red stems, There's also some kale back there sprouting. Again, this is less than well, it's exactly a week from right about now, since I dropped these seeds in. I used a biofilter to kick off the nitrification process. I have another fish tank that I've had for about 4 years. I took the biofilter out of it and kind of just stuck it down in the sump and shook it around and let some of that good bacteria get in the system. And it seemed like the next day these plants were standing up straighter, had a little growth spurt. There's new ones taking off real well. Seems like it was almost instant that this nitrification bacteria really helped my system out. I'm also thinking about, since I don't have any kind of solid separation, I think I'm going to use some red wigglers I'm just going to throw them in the grow media, see what happens. Hopefully they don't just drown. They can do a lot in the way of getting rid of a lot of unusable solids and turning them into something usable for the plants. As far as lighting, as you can see, if I step back here, I've got this 5-tier shelf that in the middle where the grow beds are, I've taken one shelf out and put some couplings in, PVC couplings, just to hold it all up still. That way I can hang my light from that top shelf. And right here I've doubled my shelves here. I took the shelf out of there and just stacked it on that one, because this gravel is pretty heavy. I think it's about 110 pounds per square foot, and I have 1.5 square feet of it, and then about a square foot of hydroton that I've mixed in with the gravel. Hydroton is real good, but it's real expensive, and I just didn't see. I'm doing this, I'm growing these plants and using this fish and everything. I'm doing it all so that I can save money. Not that I have to. I'm not starving or anything. It's just, this is my experiment. I want to see if this really does work, like everybody says. Seems like it is. But anyway, I just bought some gravel. It was about $8 for all the gravel that I use, along with the hydroton that I got from this Emily's garden right here when I used to do hydroponics. It worked okay, but this is already looking like it's working better. And gravel works just as well as the hydroton. It just weighs a lot. And anyway, that's why I've doubled my shelf, just to make sure that I don't have some sort of collapse. They're supposed to hold about 500 pounds apiece, but who knows. On plumbing, again, these bell siphons, they're hard to get right. They're hard to get them working real well. They like to hang up, and a lot of times it's easy to get the siphon started, but stopping the siphon a lot of times seems to be the problem. Again, these grow beds are just like my fish tank, in that there's a standpipe. I've got my gravel guard. That's just some 4-inch PVC. I've got a standpipe with an adapter for going from 1/2 inch to 1 inch connected to the top, and that's kind of my throat. It really helps the siphon to have a bigger opening and then going into a smaller plumbing. So that's 1 inch to half inch PVC there, and everything else from there on down is 1/2 inch. If we move down, this is also just as important as the bell itself, and the bell siphon is the drain pipe. I've gone through all kinds of experiments with this. I had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I figured out that this is the best way to have it. It's just again, 1/2 inch, and then I've got a 45 right here, and then in the end of the 45, as you can see, there's another just piece of 1/2 inch to bring the inside diameter of the pipe back down to what it was when it started, which is 1/2 inch. This really works. It kicks in usually within 10 seconds, and the siphon kills usually within about 10 seconds, usually 5 seconds. your bell too much. Now my bell is a cup that I got from Walmart, and it's just a plastic cup, and I've glued with aquarium safe glue. Make sure everything you use, guys, is aquarium safe, and just so you don't kill your fish or cause any kind of toxicity in your plants that you're getting ready to eat. I've glued some aquarium hose. It's just little bitty, I guess 1/8 inch inside diameter hose. Now as you can see, the water has come up to the level of the standpipe, and it's draining into there. It's not going to do anything but that until I put this bell on here. Now a lot of people say use 1-to-2 ratio as far as your standpipe. If I went by like University of Hawaii specs, which they've done a lot of work on it, they've got a lot of set specifications on how to make all this work. They say if you got 1/2 inch standpipe, which for a small grow bed that would be right, you'd want a 1-inch bell. Now that just seemed to me like not enough room to get the siphon kicked in. Like the water would have a hard time moving around in between those two pieces of pipe. So again, I've got quite a big bell for my standpipe, and I'll just set that over there, and it's already kicked in. This one kicked in almost immediately as well. And we'll look down here. Another good thing about this, the way I've got this 45 going into here, is it's not doing a whole too much splashing of the water out, but it is forcing lots of air into the whoa, he kind of got stuck there, a little fish. Forcing a lot of air all the way down to the bottom of this fish tank. Now these are just Rubbermaid totes, black, so that I don't get a lot of algae growth. Blocks out the sun, and the fish like it dark. Again, there's all my little fishies down there. Now they're kind of almost always in a constant vortex, because I've got one standpipe slightly pointed back toward the back of the fish tank, and this one's slightly pointed towards the front. And guys, when they both get going at the same time, I mean, the water gets moving pretty good, which is good. It picks up all those solids, all that nasty stuff in the bottom of the fish tank, and brings it to the top, and it drains down into the sump, breaks down further from there, and gets pumped back up to the grow beds. Again, whenever I get my red wigglers to drop into these grow beds, they should take care of any uneaten fish food and different things like that. I've got a cycle time of between 6 and 7 minutes on how fast these things flood and drain. It really seems pretty fast. If anybody wants to comment on a better time, I can always choke my pump off a little further and have it be slower. But I figure the faster the better. You're constantly bringing in good new water and to your plants, and constantly feeding them. I've got let's see, that's about all I've got right now. Questions and comments, also anything that might help me out, anything that you see that I'm obviously doing wrong. Again, this is my first time doing this. I've spent the first 2 weeks of this solid every night, getting off work and staying up till about 1 in the morning, trying to perfect all this. Again, I'm pretty proud of it. It seems to be working pretty well. I'm really loving just spending time making something, and this seems like the best thing I can do with my time right now. It's such a good system. A lot of good information out there for everybody. If this is your first time seeing something like this, of course, Murray Hallam and some others, they're full of good information. Check it out. Try it for yourself. Grow some food, guys. Grow some food for yourselves. It's the best thing you can do for yourself, your family, your friends. Grow some food. Learn how to do it for yourself. Anyway, I'm checking out. Thanks a lot, guys.